let me just ask you about this then. The Gorsuch, he comes off. There was a piece by Jeffrey Toobin about an exchange between Gorsuch and Ginsburg.
Yeah.
Gorsuch comes off. He starts off his question by saying, maybe we can just for a second talk about the arcane matter of the Constitution, being somewhat sarcastic, implying that the Supreme Court justices are not thinking about the Constitution in some way as which is just like, I don't know how to articulate this other than to say, like, he just sounds like a dick. I mean, honestly, like, I don't know how else to express that.
Dick is a good word to describe Judge Gorsuch.
And so he goes on to say that the court has no authority to deal with lines drawn by a state legislature. And then Ginsburg mumbles more or less to the fact, or I don't know if she mumbled or grumbled. Where did one person
of a grumble?
Where did one person, one vote come from? In other words, saying, hey, where did we get that concept from? If those words aren't written in the Constitution, is that basically what went on there?
I think that's all right. I mean, like, the first thing is that Gorsuch is such a smug prick. I mean, and this goes back, during his confirmation hearing, a lot of Democrats, my understanding from, just my Capitol Hill sources, there are a decent number of Democratic senators who decided to vote against him, not because they necessarily came into the confirmation fight wanting to cast a no vote, but because they found him to be such a jerk. He routinely lectures his colleagues, all of whom have been there longer than him, on how they should be doing their job. At his hearing, there's this, if you watch a lot of confirmation hearings, there's this sort of ritualized obsequiousness that every nominee has, where, thank you, Senator. I appreciate the question, Senator. If I have the honor of being confirmed, they go out of their way to appear humble. And he couldn't even pretend to be humble for a few days. I mean, he is that guy. He is the most obnoxious coworker you have ever had. He is the frat boy who felt entitled to everything that we all went to college with. That's who Neil Gorsuch is. And what was flabbergasting about this exchange, there's lots of things that are flabbergasting about it. It's that if you take what he said seriously, and he actually thinks that the Constitution has nothing at all to say about redistricting, that means that all of the racial gerrymandering cases are wrong. That means that the one person, one vote case, as Ginsburg pointed out, was wrongly decided. No justice goes that far. Not even Justice Thomas goes that far. On top of that, if you read the whole exchange, it sounded like part of what he was trying to do was to trick Paul Smith, the voting rights lawyer, into going down a road that would lead him saying that these aren't cases, these are things that have to be resolved by Congress and not by the courts. And and the thing I'll say about that is that Paul Smith is one of the smartest attorneys on the planet. Paul Smith, when he was in private practice, he was the Democratic Party's go-to guy for major redistricting cases before the Supreme Court. He also argued and won Lawrence v. Texas, the major gay rights decision. He did a lot of really interesting telecom work. Super. You're not going to trick Paul Smith. And the idea that Gorsuch thought he was so smart that he could trick Paul Smith, it just fits with everything else he's done. All the time he spends lecturing his colleagues. I feel bad for the 8 justices who, we've all had an obnoxious coworker show up.
Oh, believe me.
And he is the worst. I feel bad for all of them. I even feel bad for Alito that they have to tolerate this guy.
Well, and that's probably helpful on some level, right? When we have a guy like Kennedy there, who you would anything that in any way alienates him from those 4, it seems to me is a positive. Hi, folks. Sam Seder here. We still need your help on our Patreon page. YouTube ads have come back, but not nearly as much as we had before. So if you can help us out, any little bit helps. Head over to our Patreon page right at this URL, and you'll help us keep helping you by making videos